chapter in my room, no trace left here of you. Cold call another person or two, seems like I'm the only one home. Aligned with the sun, shadows on everyone, no reason to run, hide out inside. Just stay at home, so lost and alone. Be here, unknown, don't tell a soul. Bad taste, can't seem to get it out. Blank space where you shut my mouth. Filled yours with love to spit it out. I thought we wanted the same thing. Trust me, it's alright. Goodbye, now let me try to sleep, but don't care to say goodnight. It would be a lie, another fleeting dream. Trust me, it's alright. Goodbye, you never meant anything. You mean nothing to me. Just stay at home, so lost and alone. Be here, unknown, don't tell a soul. Been so down since you left, can't get out of this hole. Stay safe at home, so lost and alone.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Touchline Talk hosted by LNobbins, and I have another fantastic guest for us on today's show. It is none other than Sam Lee of The Athletic. Good afternoon, Sam. How are you doing, mate?
Good, thank you. Very good, mate. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for the invite. Not done this kind of thing in a while, actually. So let's see how we go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. We've got so much to discuss today, everybody. So please get your thoughts in the live chat as we are going through it. We'll be intermittently coming to the chat, but in general, what I would like us to discuss today is any updates with Rodri's contract, any updates with Guardiola's future, and of course, there was an especially feisty interview, or a rather series of questions that were asked between Sam and Pep earlier in the week regarding the Donnarumma debate. It's a very interesting topic, so we are absolutely going to be touching on that as well. Before we proceed, Sam, is there anything that you would like to shamelessly plug whilst you're here?
I suppose The Athletic, you can still get that for fairly cheap, I think. There's always good deals on that. And Let Me Talk podcast, that's the one we used to do for free for The Athletic. And now we've taken it into our own hands. We made it as cheap as we possibly could. It's £2 a month. The podcast is called Let Me Talk. I should probably know the address. I think if you go to lmtpod.city, you will be able to find what you need. If not, find me on Twitter. You can get it from there.
Excellent stuff. And I've popped Sam's Athletic profile into the description, guys. If you want to check Sam out, all his Twitter links are there as well. Please feel free to do that in the description of this video. There's only one place to start, and it's what initiated me reaching out to you in the first place, and it's got to be to do with the press conference that Pep gave and your questions regarding City's goalkeeper in Donnarumma. So you asked Pep about the importance of the keeper to centre-back pass. He said, we don't do it properly. And he was very clear that he didn't feel that Donnarumma wasn't the issue, that it's the outfield players not executing instead. However, those problems existed even with a very stable back four. That included Guardiola, who's widely regarded for his build-up ability. So for me, it feels difficult to fully reconcile that as an explanation. From what you're hearing around the club, is that genuinely the internal view, or is there more recognition behind the scenes that the keeper profile has shifted the dynamic more than anticipated?
Yeah, there's so many places to start. I mean, actually, it was a colleague who asked, is, you know, the reason for the second half drop-off, is that because Rodri's not fit? And Guardiola was like, no, like, he's not going to be fit until the end of the season, the summer, as he said before. But then he talks about, I still believe, and this is really important, I still believe the pass from the goalkeeper to the centre-back and then the centre-back to somebody else, as you would have seen, is so important. And he was like, it's got to be the right tempo, it's got to be the right spin, to the right foot, or the right time, all this kind of thing. And I was just sitting there like, but it can't be that important if you sign Donnarumma. And now I think another really important place to start for me is, I'm on board with City signing Donnarumma. I'm on board with Donnarumma being in goal. I think Trafford's maybe got a better spread of abilities, but Donnarumma's got intangibles, right? Not many other goalkeepers in the league are making that save he made at Anfield. They've signed him for that. They've not signed him to be Edison. I'm not stupid. Like Edison wanted to go, it was time to go, and they've moved in a completely direction. And the way the Premier League is now, they thought Donnarumma was going to help us with that, and that's fine. I was on board with it then. I didn't understand it then. I understand it a bit better now. But whether it was then or now, I'm on board with it, and that's fine. But I think it's like fairly obvious that he's not very good in the build-up. And not disastrous. Like he hasn't given anyone the ball 6 yards out for a tap in, any opponent. He's not made any howlers like that. But there's plenty of examples. You talked about the exchange with Pep being feisty. I suppose it's because like normally we give him answers. We ask him questions, and he gives answers. And who are we to say, oh well, that's not right actually? But when it's a matter of like execution, it's like I've seen plenty of examples of Donnarumma like play a bobbly pass behind somebody that puts them in danger, and it's like I've seen that. Like I'm not going to sit here ever and tell Pep Guardiola that he's wrong, but it's like I have seen that, and okay, maybe because he obviously said it's everybody else's fault, which I think is like overcompensating. Because I think we can say surely it's a little bit Donnarumma's fault. Because okay, maybe like at Anfield, Haaland and Marmoush aren't challenging for the long balls. That's not Donnarumma's fault, but it is when he puts it in the crowd. And he said, we haven't had time on the training pitch, so we can't work on it. And it's like, again, who am I to say? Actually, Pep, I think your players do already know what to do, and you have had plenty of time. Like, obviously not, never. But so if he says, well, he passes it to Guardiola, and Guardiola's under pressure because he's not in the right place, neither's anybody else. Fair enough. But it's like, but I can see the pass is bad. I can see the pass is behind him. He did it to Gehi the other night. Generally, if he's not sure, he'll just go to the left centre back, and they've just got to deal with it. So that's kind of my view on it. But again, overall, like he didn't sign him for the build-up, so great. And the other thing is, when he started at City, he wasn't great at it, but he was an option. I think for 2 or 3 months in the middle of the season so far, he wasn't an option. And you can't talk about the importance of a pass from the goalkeeper and then not play with the goalkeeper in the build-up. And I think everybody noticed Diaz and Guardiola for about 2 months just didn't pass to him. Again, maybe that's their fault, but I guess that's because they don't think it's going to come back or come back properly. City have got themselves into problems playing back because, it doesn't come out properly. But again, recently he's been a bit better. He has been an option again. And at Anfield, he was pretty good, I would say. So fair enough. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. And when Guardiola was talking about the importance of it, I just thought, well, how can you do this with Donnarumma? And that's all it was, basically. But then in terms of, is that what he really thinks? Do people in the club really think that? I've spoken to a couple of people. They know. They know.
People at the club.
Is good. Yeah. But it's a trade-off because, and I guess we'll get into this, but all this stuff, like Anthony Gordon talked about in that Champions League press conference when he talked about how the Premier League's just about duels, and if you win your duels, you win the game. Whereas in Europe, they're trying to play old style, they're trying to play football, they're trying to play zonal marking, and now it's all man to man and it's so direct. I asked Pep Linders about it when he did the press conference, and he said the duels are more important than ever now because teams are pressing high. So if you go long, if you win the duel, you've got a chance. If they win the duel, they're coming back, they've got a chance. So the duels are more important than ever. And Arteta talked about it. He said there's no spaces. Guardiola was asked about it, and he said there are still spaces if you do it properly. Which again is like, can you do it properly with Donnarumma? But we saw like even Foden the other night. Foden breaking into all that space. Doku against Galatasaray. The spaces are there if you bring the ball out from the back properly. But this is the kind of football that's being played now. But with that, there's a recognition at City that you're not always going to play through man-to-man properly. And teams might win the ball high up the pitch and have really good chances. So basically, I think the thinking at City was, as well as Donnarumma's a great goalkeeper with all this great experience, can make great saves, can bring confidence to the defence, is a big character, all of those things. They think, well, we can't really control games anymore because it's not a control match anymore. It's end-to-end and it's physical. So there's always going to be 2 or 3 chances that the other team have. We need a goalkeeper who's going to save those. And that's where the logic comes in to buying Donnarumma to replace Edison. But yeah, the whole thing's fascinating. Like, because I think Donnarumma at the heart of it helps to explain or gives us talking points for this whole evolution at City and how new are they, what are they trying to do, and how much does Guardiola actually want them to be more possession based than direct, and it's the kind of mix between the two, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a debate to be had about, is the trade-off worth it? I think it seems like you've got like these different camps of people. You've got the people who believe the trade-off absolutely is worth it. You've got people who think the trade-off definitely isn't worth it. You've got, I put myself into this third camp. You've got the people who believe there is a trade-off, but I need more of a sample size to deduce whether it is going to be worth it or not. I need at least a season to reach that conclusion. And then you've got a fourth camp of people who don't even accept that there is a trade-off. I think that they're perhaps living in, I don't want to say a fantasy world, but it does seem pretty obvious that there must be some sort of trade-off. Whether it's a positive or negative, we can surely accept there has to absolutely be one when you bring in a goalkeeper who is so widely regarded from his time with Milan, from his time with PSG, as a player who wasn't comfortable playing out from the back. People described him as a dinosaur goalkeeper, like a throwback goalkeeper in a more modern era. But whether the trade-off is worth it, I think for me that does remain to be seen. It's just really interesting to hear like the disconnect between what Pep is saying in public versus what you've perhaps heard internally at the club. That's really interesting.
Again, I think his point about the build-up's not good because the players don't know where to stand because they're all new and we've not had time to train. Again, I'm never going to say, no, that's wrong. And it just makes complete sense, doesn't it? We know so many of the players are new. Like, Semenyo gave an interview, and obviously Semenyo is one of the newest ones. He gave an interview in the mix zone the other night, and he talked about he's having to make this adaptation to being in a possession team rather than counter-attacking. Think about how much of a shift in style that is. And, like, that's basically the same for, like, a lot of them. And even if it's not a massive shift, like the kind of football Reinders plays, you would think on paper is very suited to what the City try and do, but like he needs to improve a lot. And it's a new country and it's a new league, and obviously City are trying to do something new anyway. It's not like they know fully what they're doing already. They're kind of trying to work it out to take on this ever-changing Premier League and this physical direct Premier League. So yeah, there's that side of it. The side that they've just not had time to work on it enough completely stands to reason. And that's where, if I say, I could say, for example, the biggest reason, I don't necessarily believe this. I do think Donnarumma was very bad in the build-up, or has been this season. I could say he's the biggest reason by far why City are able to get the ball out from the back. If Guardiola says it's not his fault whatsoever, I don't believe that. And it's very rare that I would say I don't believe it, because he would know. But I don't believe that. But if he says there's this, and this, and that's a bigger factor than a few bad balls out from the back, or at least it's an equal factor, I'd say, yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm open to admitting maybe it's not the biggest thing, but I don't think it's a controversial opinion to say it is part of it. Like there's I could go on Wisecout and I could find 20 examples, I reckon, quite easily. Yeah, well, and again, I'd love to sit down with Pep, and he goes, actually, if you look at him, I'll go, okay, yeah, fair enough. But even I would probably still say, yeah, but look at the pass. I could have made that pass better, and I couldn't, obviously. But like, it's no, and there's a bit of a false equivocation, isn't there? There's a lot of people going, oh well, you expect him to be Ederson. No one's got Ederson's passing. Fine, but like, there's loads of goalkeepers who are better at passing. So let's not go all the way down. He's no Ederson, because nobody is, and I get that. But again, you wouldn't maybe sign. Let's say there's 20 goalkeepers you could have signed better at passing than Donnarumma. Like I say, Trafford's one of them. But it's this thing, the trade-off. The way I like to put it is he a net positive or a net negative? I haven't worked it out yet.
Yes.
I haven't worked it out. But that's kind of what you get. They signed him for all the other stuff. And that's why I'm not sitting there every week saying, see the team, Donnarumma's playing again. No, I expect him to play. I want him to play. I wanted him to play at Anfield. I want him to play in all the big games. That's how it is. But it's just a very unusual little trade-off, or the net negative or net positive thing. I do think is a question that we'll just work out.
Definitely, and again, for me, it's definitely a question worth having. It's just too early to tell. You were touching on there earlier about like the changing meta and like the dynamics of the Premier League. Teams nowadays way more optimized out of possession, pressing high, really aggressively as well. But you touched it in your article. Pep defended his philosophy as you cover in their article. He said, "I still believe one good process to keep with the central defender, then the central defender makes a good pass. These two actions create a chance, and you don't concede a chance. I will fight until the last day as a manager for that concept." he's clearly reiterating there the importance of what shot prevention is, specifically through ball retention. So with that in mind, you have touched on it slightly, but perhaps you could go into a bit more detail. Why was like Donnarumma ultimately the name that they landed on, given his reputation for being uncomfortable playing out from the back, even after bringing in Trafford as that shot-stopping upgrade, who one could argue is also more likely to be moulded into a great ball-playing goalkeeper? Why do we think that Pep wanted Donnarumma, given all of that context?
Well, yeah, there's a lot. I mean, part of it is, and I don't know how this would have worked, right? Because if I'm saying now, should they go with a better ball-playing goalkeeper? No, that's fine. Go with Donnarumma, it's fine. Do it. But Guardiola wanted to sign Donnarumma in 2017 when they got Edison. I don't know how that would have worked, because it's fine now adjusting to this new Premier League and going, we're going to need a goalkeeper to save shots, so we're going to get the best in the world at doing that. Make complete sense. But that's not what they wanted to do 10 years ago. They wanted possession. They wanted, like you said, the importance of shot prevention through keeping the ball. And that was the beauty of Edison for so long. And that's the whole kind of net negative versus net positive thing. There's still people now talking about Edison like he never made a save in his life, or that he was a bad goalkeeper. It's like, look at the result. Look at the teams he was part of. It was an overwhelming positive. And yeah, like, I don't know, maybe they'd have won an extra Champions League if they hadn't, if he hadn't have been bad against Spurs or against Liverpool or something. But fine, but like, they did win one, and they won everything else with him in goal. It was never despite him. It was never anybody else doing the hard work. It was always with him in it. So I don't know how it would have worked with Donnarumma 10 years ago. But again, part of the reason Guardiola wanted to sign him now was that I wanted this guy there. Now we've got the opportunity. And maybe, the big characteristics he does bring, because his agent gave an interview in the summer, I remember, and he said he wanted to wake up the defence. And obviously last season, so going to his character and that kind of personality that he is, last season was so bad in terms of the vibe in the squad. And even like the squad was destroyed in the sense of, look at all the legendary players who left. And even like the rung down from legendary, but like treble winners who left, like Akanji, Grealish, they left. Like, you need to kind of rebuild it. So you bring him in for that. You bring him in for the shot stopping. For me, in terms of the whole negative debate, I think if he was a bit better on crosses, I'd be in the positive camp.
Sure,
but because that's so kind of up and down, it's like, there's not a huge value in that. At Anfield, we saw a lot of good punches. I think there was one bad one, but there was a lot of good ones. And obviously after his save, he punched the corner away, which is almost as valuable as the save itself. Because if you're dealing with corners and the goalkeeper's up, you've got a problem, and he dealt with it very well. So if he does that more consistently, fair enough. But in terms of why City wanted him with this new dynamic, I think you have to look at the broader picture. With Linda saying Jules are more important than ever. It's like you signed Reinders. Now I watched Reinders. I wasn't familiar with him as a player, but whenever City signed a player, I'll watch quite a lot of them on Y-Scout. And I was like, oh, okay, I get this. I see why they like him. As long as he scores goals. I think if he doesn't score goals, then I'm not really sure. But if he scores goals, then great. But I was like, he doesn't like his defensive stuff is nowhere near.
He's not a dual winner, not a second ball winner.
No, but he's got no appreciation for it. Like when I saw Nico Gonzalez, he reads the game very well. I feel like he reads the game and he knows where the ball's going to go, but he doesn't always win it, even though he's there. I think he needs to be stronger with that. And that was my opinion before he signed. I still think that now, but he's definitely improved massively over the last year. But so they've got the Gonzalez, for example, but more so Reinders, Aït-Nouri, Marmoush in terms of second balls. There's nowhere really. And Cherky's not too bad, but it's obviously not a strength in his game. So it's quite funny because they say Jules are more important. And what they've done is they've signed loads of players who are very important at winning them in terms of going past a player. But none of them are known for winning the ball back, for counter-pressing, for having that kind of nous that you would need. And this is where it comes in. Like Bernardo's got, like Gundogan had, like De Bruyne had. But when they signed, they didn't have it either. So I think why did they sign Donnarumma when it's so important to play out from the back to break this man-to-man press, and then you can counter-attack? I think they've signed a lot of non-Pep players, basically, including Semenyo as well. And then the idea is, well, they've got all these amazing abilities that we can't coach because Cherky's two-footed and he's got a genius talent. Semenyo's two-footed, he can go either way, and he's so destructive on the counter-attack when you do open the pitch. Reinders, the way he can carry the ball and score, is phenomenal for what this team want to do. They know there's other stuff, very important stuff they can't do. But even though they haven't got time on the training pitch, which is obviously important for the build-up, you don't need to be on the training pitch to get better at being better off the ball, because Guardiola just shows a meeting, and he can just shout at you. He can just tell you until your instinct is, I've lost the ball, I've got to go get it back. And that's where Gundogan wasn't like that when he came. Bernardo wasn't like that when he came. De Bruyne wasn't like that when he came. And they all got moulded into these like second ball monsters. I think a really underrated ability of that treble team was how good they were at winning the ball back. Like Gundogan's goal in the cup final was from a second ball.
Yes.
The volley after 12 seconds, he knew where the ball was going to drop, and he just happened to volley it in. Normally, he was just getting his foot in and trying to flick it around the corner and keep the ball. That's where these new guys need to go. And City must have, like, if I could spot Reinders isn't very good defensively, then City would know that.
Yeah.
So why did they sign him? Oh, it's because he's got all this other stuff that does fit, and they can mould him over the course of, ideally, a year, 18 months, maybe 2 years, into doing all that stuff. And that's why I think the ceiling of this team is incredibly high, because if they all improve in that, if they all do the Guardiola stuff as well as this kind of end-to-end dynamic stuff that they have got, I think it's going to be a hell of a team. But obviously we are where we are now, where there's the 5-4 against Fulham, there's the end-to-end game against Real Madrid, which they win, there's the 30 minutes of a shit show at Anfield, which they end up winning, but there's also Newcastle away in November when it's end-to-end and they lose it, and it's the second half games against Spurs, because they can't stop teams coming at them, because they're not very good at winning those duels and not very good at playing out from the back.
Yes.
But eventually, like, we just have to accept that now. This is the kind of transition they're in. But I think eventually they'll be much better. And this is why I think, especially with like Gahey coming in, going into next year, they don't need to do much transfer business. Like, they're potentially very strong. They just need to keep evolving.
Yeah. For me, I like your explanation about, could these traits be coached into these players? Because when I was looking at a lot of the signings from 2025, particularly Reinders, Shirky, Aït-Nouri, those sorts of players, they seem to be tailor-made for a more traditional Pep City side, one which prioritises, ball retention and that sort of thing. Because one of the reasons why I liked Reinders being our main midfield signing was because I argued that it doesn't matter that he's not very good at tackling, it doesn't matter he's not good in the duels or second balls, because City defend with the ball first and foremost. So I didn't really envisage City this season becoming a bit more of a becoming more reliant on hoofing the ball at times. Reinders doesn't seem tailor-made for that, but so I like the idea of the point being that maybe he can be moulded into that. I'll need to see it to believe it, but I like that as a concept. I think for me, it's just a bit ironic that, for example, against Liverpool, and we've seen it a number of times this season, but Anfield seems to be the main example. One of the solutions that City have come up with to circumvent the fact that we're no longer as good as playing through a press is to play over it, which is a strategy that we've used before, going long via the goalkeeper to Semenyo, to Hall, and really good outlets. But ironically, that would be tailor-made for a goalkeeper who is able to find them well and consistently, and also who would have the power in his kicks to find the runs beyond. So now all of a sudden, it's not only about you need to hold the ball up against the centre-back, now you are a threat in behind because the goalkeeper can find you with those long kicks. It's just interesting that we've created a strategy to help out Donnarumma, but actually, at the same time, it would also be equally, if not more beneficial for a goalkeeper who actually would be stronger with their feet. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess that's part of the trade-off. Like you
Yes.
sign Reinders who can't defend, and you teach him to defend, or you teach him to have a different mentality. Like you sign Donnarumma, who's nowhere near as good with the ball at his feet as others, but you just teach that. And I know he gave interviews when he came, and I know he's like, he was desperate to work for Pep and play for him and work with him. So as long as he's kind of surrendered himself to improving in that sense, then that's where you get, he's never going to be, never mind Edison. I don't know, like, because Ortega could never, like, boot it behind the defensive line like Edison could, because again, nobody can, and we shouldn't expect anybody else to do that. But Ortega could play it up to somebody's chest quite well. Do you remember that Luton FA Cup game where Haaland got 3 or 4 goals and De Bruyne got
like 1 million assists. Yeah.
He just kept playing up to Haaland's chest every time, and Haaland would lay it off to De Bruyne and make the run, and then they just kept scoring like that. Like, if you can get to even that level of accuracy, or more accurate than just kicking it into the crowd, which he still does quite a bit, then he's not in a different camp to Reinders and Cherky and everyone else. He's in exactly the same. Like, again, you sign somebody with this amazing ability. If it's Cherky, to be creative, and then you teach him other stuff. You sign Donnarumma with this amazing ability to keep the ball out of the net, which is obviously incredibly valuable and arguably more so now. And then you just coach him to be a bit better. He's in the same process as everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just we'll never know. It's a hypothetical, and I've not actually got a question prepared for you, Ari Trafford. Do we think he's going to stay beyond this summer? For me, I struggle to see him staying beyond this summer, because in my head he wants to be the number one, and it's just a shame, because based on the granted little that I've seen of him in the City shirt, he seems to me to be a player who perhaps could be moulded into that play. I don't think, based on what we've seen from Trafford, I actually don't think the gap between their more traditional elements is actually that far off. Whereas I think that Trafford is arguably better on the ball. I think he could have that long kick to him. It's just a shame that we're never going to see that level of momentum. I've got a super chat from Mr. Perfecto, who says, what's the likelihood of a Pep extension? What are the most important factors to players like Rodri's contract, e.g. if Pep leaves, well, Rodri? We will come to that topic in a later, Mr. Perfecto, so thank you so much for your super chat. Do not worry, we will come to that, absolutely. Just final point on Donnarumma, and then I will move on. We're touching it. I think he's a significant factor, but I accept he's not the only factor. I think that's ridiculous to suggest he's the only factor that's leading to City struggling the build-up. So beyond the keeper, and Pep has touched on it, but what areas do you think the team does actually need to improve in, especially in second halves when opponents do ramp up their pressing intensity? And I guess also more short term, what can be done this season?
Well, again, first of all, this is the area when Guardiola says we need time on the training pitch, because it's in terms of where to stand, the body position, like the movements to make. It's like that stuff that I'm not intelligent enough to get. Like, they could show me a still image of everyone in the position. I don't know where they should be. I don't know where they shouldn't be. And like, you can have people who, with UEFA A licenses, who know loads more about tactics than I do. They still don't know exactly where Guardiola would want them to be. So there's that. But even like at Anfield, like, I thought the good thing about the win at Anfield was, it wasn't perfect, because rather than just surviving that storm, they just dealt with it. When City are at their peak, or in the past, or the peak that I think they'll get to, they'll just be able to stop it. And obviously they can't stop it, but they at least survived. So in terms of where it could be better this season, I'll say survived. Liverpool still went a goal up, and then they dropped off. But it was a goal from a free kick. Miles out, was never a free kick. Like, City at least was showing the battling abilities. Gahey was making blocks. Kusanov was making blocks. I thought O'Reilly, Bernardo and Rodri were great throughout. But in the first half, it was more on the ball and build up. Second half was just defensive stuff. And I thought that is like, if you can't stop the storm, at least you can deal with it. So that's one thing that maybe helps them win the league. I don't know. But they're not going to be able to stop it at source in most games. Because again, I think one of the big problems is once teams switch it up, I think it's weird, because you've got a lot of teams who maybe come to City or play against City and still think they could tear us apart here. So we're not gonna be that adventurous. But then like Leeds, when it went to 2-0 down, they were like, well, we can press high. This is one of the things Linda said, like 90% of the teams press high now. So before, whereas you play against like Sean Dyche's Burnley and they come and sit in and sit you 3-0 up, what's their plan B then? How many times have teams come to the Etihad? They've dug in, they've conceded, and then there's no alternative plan. But I think teams now do have an alternative plan, which is, we can actually do this anyway. We just didn't want to today. So then they change the rhythm. They're good at it. They're not just like sending speculative balls forward. They actually know what they're doing. Sorry, one second. And then City struggled to deal with that, I think, again, partly because of the duels and stuff. And just like, Nico Gonzalez, did he show up in as good an area for the ball as Rodri does? Like, some people say he's hiding, or he doesn't want the ball. Maybe this is just a natural. Maybe that's one of. Maybe it is that. But maybe what Guardiola's saying about time on the training pitch and knowing where to be, maybe that just shows the value of Rodri having been here for 7 years, and Nico Gonzalez being here for a year, and not too much time in training. So there's things like that. So it's the tactical element of Guardiola getting them to be where they need to be and to understand what he wants from them. There's the off the ball stuff which we've talked about, where they're not really duels minded, they're not really second balls minded and coping with long balls. But we did see at Anfield there was more of that. I think Nico O'Reilly in midfield helps with that. I think Gahey in defence helps with that massively. Obviously, Donnarumma in goal helps with it, because if he just saves the shots, then it's less of a problem. But obviously, you want eventually to him not to have to save so many shots. And the other problems in the build-up, it's just a question of outlet, isn't it? Because when I'm thinking of the Donnarumma pass to the left centre back, and again, I'm not going back to Donnarumma and blaming him for the whole thing, but I'm trying to think, if he goes back to Guardiola and the pass is bad to him, and then Guardiola, I remember some games around December time, he'd either try and go down the line himself and it would get cut out, or there was games at the Everton game, the Burnley game, go to O'Reilly at left back. O'Reilly doesn't have an option. He tries to go down the line. That gets cut out, and then they're attacking from high up the pitch. Remember Palace had that Yeremy Pino chance Palace had early, went over the bar for a goal kick. City tried to play out, lost it. Palace had a shot, went out for a goal kick. City took the goal kick, lost it. Palace had a shot. And it's like, because there is just this element of they're not so good at bringing it out. Part of it is it doesn't come out from the back cleanly with the pass. And obviously part of it will be showing up, like being strong enough, maybe just being brave enough to get it in very difficult areas where people are waiting for you to get it so they can jump on you. Kovacic had a bad season last year because he shouldn't be the sole holding midfielder. But if City are going to play these two holding midfielders, which has been Rodri and Bernardo recently, and also O'Reilly's been deeper in helping them out, if you've got Kovacic in there with his skill set of getting the ball under pressure and trying to take people on, we know sometimes he takes people on when he shouldn't do it, but he does it very well to good effect a lot of the time. That could be very valuable as well. So that could be an area they improve in, because I just think sometimes there's just not always the know-how, or maybe just the physical capacity. I think Bernardo Silva's fantastic. And to be fair, Guardiola's been talking about it so much recently about how good he is. It's not controversial to say that. But when I was on paternity leave for the second 6 months of last year, some of the stuff I've been seeing said about Bernardo Silva and how he needs to leave, I was like, no, Bernardo's like the one holding this all together. I think he's fantastic. But at the same time, there's like a physicality issue there. And there is with Rodri, obviously, while he comes back from injury. And it's like, how well can you guys still actually move and keep up with this physicality, even though you know exactly where to be, you know exactly where to get the ball, you know where the ball's coming, you know where it needs to go. There's still a physicality issue there, which is where we saw, Doku come in against Galatasaray and get the ball deep and carry it. We could see Kovacic come in, get the ball deep and carry it. Those kind of physical profiles, that is a way to improve as well. But again, if you've got Doku in the heart of the action, he's not going to be the best defensively, is he? But he does have to get the ball up the pitch, and then he can play the ball in behind for Haaland like he did, and City have got a goal on the counter-attack, or like a false counter-attack. So there are ways they can do it. But again, I think it's just a process, it's a trade-off. And this is why the games are just going to keep being end-to-end, probably a lot of the times in the second half, because that's just how the squad's built.
I do think that Aït-Nouri coming into the team will also help a lot, because City, you touching it there with like Guardiola having to go to O'Reilly going down the line. I do like O'Reilly a lot, but compared to an Aït-Nouri, like the first touch isn't necessarily as clean. If our players aren't receiving as ideal balls as they once were, then therefore the technical floor needs to be even higher than before in those areas. I think Aït-Nouri being in the team would really help out there. Of course, like if Rodri comes back to full fitness, that's another thing. You mentioned outlets, Doku, Semenyo, Haaland, all being options as well. If they're able to make the ball stick in those moments, that's something else which can massively improve.
Oh, yeah, hugely. If Haaland, like the opposite of what happened at Anfield in the second half, more of the first half, Haaland's winning headers against Van Dijk and they're going for it. Yeah, it's a huge opportunity. And obviously then as long as the ball gets to them relatively close, then yeah, that is a huge way of doing it.
Yeah, 100%. I lied. Absolute final question on the goalkeeper situation. I know you're on paternity leave, so I don't know if you'd have been tapped into the matrix at this point. Just in brief, were City pursuing before they signed Trafford? Were they pursuing any other goalkeepers? Do we know?
This is the thing I wanted to work out. And no, I was very much off the grid at that point. But to be fair, I've got no excuse for not doing it in the last 6 weeks, but I still haven't. I was always under the impression, and this isn't true, I don't think, but I was always under the impression that Trafford must have known that they wanted Donnarumma, because they knew that they knew that Edison was going to go. They knew there was a good chance that Ortega was going to go. And I always just thought they must have known that the Donnarumma was going to be on the market, and that's who they wanted. Because it seemed to be drawn out over quite a while, the Donnarumma thing, as far as I can remember. So I always just assumed that Trafford would have known. But obviously, seemingly he didn't, because he's in the situation where they need to sit down and talk at the end of the season, and his situation obviously isn't that good. So I'm not sure. But it seems to be the case that, I don't know, like people in the goalkeeper team, they weren't as looped in on the transfer as they normally would have been with Donnarumma. So maybe it really was an opportunistic thing that they just did quite late. But even if not, they didn't really loop in everyone. And again, maybe as much as everything else, maybe Guardiola's desire to, let's actually work with this guy who I've wanted to work with forever. Maybe that was a big part of it. And they got Trafford, thought they'd stick with Trafford, and then it was, let's get this guy. I guess that is how it went, because if Trafford's not too happy with the situation and might leave, then that obviously does suggest that that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, definitely. I can. I didn't really touch on when you mentioned it the first time. The whole Pep wanted Donnarumma around a decade ago. I
honestly don't know how that would have worked. I have no idea how that would have
so
worked.
I would say that it's easier, because how old would Donnarumma have been? 19 years old at that point?
Wow, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So I guess I would say that maybe Pep viewed that as, I can mould a 19-year-old into the goalkeeper I want to be. And that's why I could absolutely understand why he may want to go for such a goalkeeper then. But is it as easy to mould a 10-year seasoned international who's 26? Perhaps not. That's just interesting to think about.
But obviously the flip side of that was Edison was just clearly ready to go, wasn't he?
Well, he was ready to go.
It was down to him that he adapted so well. But in terms of his ability on the ball, it was like you don't have to mould him. Like you can teach him certain things, but he already knows it, kind of thing. So that's, but of course, it's a very good point that Donnarumma at that age was probably more malleable than he is now. But again, he obviously seems to be, or they hope he's quite malleable now anyway.
Yeah.
If he's going to stay for more than a couple of years.
Yeah, and hopefully that happens, absolutely. I'm willing to wait and for that to happen, 100%. Moving away from the goalkeeper situation now, lots of issues last season. This is actually a question from Tony, so big up to Tony. There were loads of issues last season. We had Walker, the captain, leaving in January. We had Grealish constantly unavailable, lots of weird suggestions about what was going on there, either unavailable or just not selected by Pep. Bernardo even suggested that there were some teammates he could and could not go to war with. I believe that was the exact quote he used. So this current City squad isn't perfect, obviously. It is flawed. But it does seem to still be very unified and together, and there does seem to be like a really good camaraderie in the current squad. Do you know what that's... First of all, do you agree? Do you know what that's down to, though? Is it just the impact of, leaders coming into the side like Donnarumma, or has something else played a part from then till now?
I think the Club World Cup was really important.
Right.
I think the Club World Cup was similar in the way that, in the season when they won 4 in a row and they drew that game with Palace and they didn't have great results, but then they went to play the Club World Cup in Saudi. And it's like, well, that's perfect because they've got good weather. They've got matches that aren't difficult but mean something. So they need that kind of competitive tension. But they get a complete break from the Premier League and the shit weather and the calendar and all that. And they can just kind of reset. And they obviously won the trophy and came back, beat Everton and kind of took off from there. I think it was an opportunity for that. City were obviously very keen to do a lot of their business before the Club World Cup, and they did that, didn't they? They had the flurry of Cherki and Reinders and Ait Nouri basically announced, was it the day or the day before they flew to America, something like that. So I think they went there with a very different squad. They obviously finished the season getting in the top 4 quite comfortably. They should have won the FA Cup final, but that's a conversation for another day. And I just think that was an opportunity to be together again in a tournament where everyone was still kind of working out if it was good, whatever. But it's a tournament the City would have wanted to win. Mm-hmm. And I just think that process of good weather, kind of pre-season vibes, but competitive tension, I think that did a lot of good for them. And then obviously you get to they lose to Brighton at the end of August and after they lost to Spurs, you kind of look at it and you think it's a comparatively weaker team than the previous one. and you can't imagine the vibes being particularly good there. But I do think America was the kind of starting point for this team, and then obviously they've gone out of their way, haven't they, to do extra huddles and team building and things like that. But I think considering how bad it was last year, for, the stuff you mentioned, and I think there was like they were having team meetings all the time. People were giving their opinions. Everyone just ended up like shouting at each other, and Guardiola would be in some of them, and sometimes it was just the team or whatever, and it was like everyone was like trying to do things and get things fixed, but it was just such a like relentless, like negative spiral that it was just hard to be around by all accounts. So yeah, for them to kind of get rid of certain players, because Grealish didn't even go, did he? He didn't even go on.
No, he was
Football
omitted
Cup
from the
as far as
squad.
I
Yeah.
remember. Exactly, omitted from the squad. Like, he could have gone, but it was like, no, this is the way we're going. We're having new players in. We're not having certain players in. And it goes from there. And I think it's that. And then the little things they try and do around matches and training and stuff, just to kind of build those bonds between them. But again, like Guardiola mentioned something in his press conference today, just about they've got these 3 weeks coming up before matches, so they're going to have days off. And he was like, that's really good for us. He goes, look, maybe we come back and play horrible and we lose against Newcastle, and maybe we lose the vibe we've got now. But I just thought that acknowledgement that there is obviously a good vibe in there at the minute, especially after the Liverpool game and then keeping up with Fulham. I just thought that was interesting. Like, there is obviously a good vibe at the minute that he's kind of willing to talk about. So I think that just builds through the season. But I do think America was the starting point for it.
Excellent. That's super interesting. Yeah, really interesting. Thank you so much for that. We've got Sam for another 13 minutes or so. So, guys, please get your questions in the live chat. I'm now just going to come back to Mr. Perfecto. I was going to have this as two separate questions, but we are running out of time, so I would like to just merge the two. Mr. Perfecto asked, what's the likelihood of a Pep extension? What are the most important factors to players like Rodri's contract, e.g. if Pep leaves, will Rodri? It's a bit of a double whammy there.
Yeah, all the contracts seem to be tied to Pep, don't they, in how we think about it. We always thought that about Haaland. Now he's staying forever. I think there might have even been a clause in that first one. If Guardiola had gone after a year, then he could have gone. I remember that being a thing. But obviously it just became completely irrelevant. Guardiola stayed. Haaland signed that massive contract. And it is what it is. In terms of with Pep, him signing another extension, I think the most important thing is not really signing the extension, but just making sure he does that next year. Because then if he does that next year, because there's obviously been a lot of reports that it's basically been decided that he's going. But if he does that next year, then you'd have to say all bets are off, because nobody saw him signing the last extension. I think his plan was to leave when Cheeky did, but obviously he changed his mind and stayed. So you couldn't ever rule out that happening again. But the most important thing is you need him to stay and do that second year, which will obviously be next season. I seem to be one of the only journalists in the country who think he is going to stay. But that concerns me, because there's obviously a lot of journalists who know a lot of people, and they think he's going to go. Obviously, it's been fairly widely reported that City was speaking to Maresca just on a kind of just-in-case basis. And there's been a lot of that just-in-case basis stuff, which would obviously lead you to think that Guardiola is going, they're making these plans. Now, obviously, they would have done this in the past. Why do we know more about it now? Sometimes that just happens. If Maresca's people are happy to put that out there, whereas other managers in the past have wanted to keep that quiet, then that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And that's the only difference. So that's possible. But we've seen stories, executives or, a manager at another team has told his executives that Guardiola's going. Who would that be? Arteta? Probably only Arteta will be close enough to Pep to know that. So that's possible. But I don't know if it is Arteta. And if it's not, then, would David Moyes know? Maybe, because, Guardiola loves the kind of old-style British managers. Maybe he had one too many glasses of wine after the October game. I don't know. But it seems to be that if he is leaving, the circle of people at City who know that is very small.
Yes.
Because I think there's some influential people who don't know that or haven't had any indication that he is going. Again, the reason I said that slowly is because I had a flash forward to the future, and it turns out that all the players knew that he was going in January or something, and I'd look stupid. But I don't know. I think he'll do next year as well. But that's not super concrete. But that's where I am with it. And in terms of Rodri, the plan was towards the end of last season, it was offer Diaz a contract. I think City thought at the time maybe Diaz won't like this contract, but let's make him the offer. In the end, he did like it. I think they offered him a bit of a pay rise, but not a massive one. But I think he was fine with it anyway, and he signed it. But the plan was give Diaz a bit of a pay rise, get his sorted, and then work on Rodri's and offer Rodri loads of money. And obviously they knew he was injured at that point last summer, obviously. So they would have known that, and that was the plan. But I always remember thinking at the time, okay, well, we'll see how that goes. And then thinking, if we've not heard anything by Christmas, I'd maybe start to worry about how it's going. Now, we've obviously not heard anything, and it's like Valentine's Day. But that's not to say, oh, it must be bad news. It's just to say, I haven't heard anything. We haven't heard anything. But I just think it's very interesting. I think, was that Mr. Perfecto question, like, what are the factors?
Yes.
Like, if Rodri had 3 years left on his contract, you just wait and see what happens with his knee. You'd wait and see what type of player he is. But City have got to make this decision now, guessing. Mm-hmm. And like, Guardiola said for ages, he'll be at his best at the end of the season in the World Cup next season. So if City are confident that that's how it's going to be, then you sign up Rodri, you stand by him, you believe he's going to be top. You're going to give him maybe not as good money as previously. I don't know. Maybe, if I'm guessing, this is completely hypothetical. Maybe they were going to make a certain offer, and then they were like, maybe we don't. Maybe we go back on that a bit because there's a bit of uncertainty. So it's an awkward period for City because they do have to make all these decisions based on information that nobody has. Mm-hmm. I know they've been, ironically, because I don't think they're always careful with players. I think they've been very careful with Rodri not to play him too much. And I think Rodri's been more impatient than the staff have. I think Rodri's at times wanted to play, and they've said, no, you're not. Which, yeah, it's ironic because it doesn't always happen that way. But he's wanted to play, and they've been careful with him. I don't know, like in terms of training techniques and things like that, Rodri's got his own idea about how to recover. I think some staff have got different ideas, but it's not to say either of them are right or wrong. It will just be interesting to see which way it plays out. How does Rodri's career go from that injury?
Yeah,
from the best midfielder in the world, hands down, best player in the world, to whatever he's going to be next, we don't know. But if City do believe it's a process, he will be better eventually, then I'd imagine that contract offer is still on the table. But obviously, if it gets to the summer, and I wish I knew. I have asked around. Nobody seems to know. I asked the people that I spoke to in the summer about the plan with Diaz and then Rodri. They're not sure. So I don't know where it is at, and I wish I did. But obviously, if it gets towards the end of the summer, you're going to have clubs start making ridiculously low bids. Mm-hmm. Like if Real Madrid want him, then it's like, okay, well, there's 20 million euros because what leverage have you got? And you've got nothing. So it's a very delicate situation that City kind of need to work on. A person I did speak to about it, he said he didn't know what was going on, but he said he thought, and again, he's not that plugged into it, but he thought City would just give him the contract out of loyalty and out of respect for everything he is, and just the belief that he'll be fine again. They thought that he will still get that contract. Mm-hmm. And if that is the case, then obviously the ball's in Rodri's court then. And I suppose it comes down to how much does he want to play for Real Madrid, because that would probably be the only club he'd go to. And I think in the past, I know he played for Atletico, but I don't think that's I've played for Atletico, I don't want to play for Real Madrid. I think it's very much I'm a Madrid boy. I would quite like to. So we'll just see how much City are pushing to make the offer, if Madrid are in the race at all, and how Rodri feels about it. And I'm sorry I can't give any more details than that, but that's about everything I know / think.
No, that's great, thank you. I guess depending on what happens with Rodri, that may well determine City's transfer business in the summer. One of those players we are linked with is Anderson. Do we have any information on whether City are actually targeting him? He seems to make a lot of sense if Rodri were to stay, for example.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, I know there's always talk about how much money City spend and how much they've spent in the last 18 months, but it's like they've basically rebuilt the squad, and I think the business is good. And like if Bernardo goes, you just need to get a midfielder basically, and then I don't like if Marmoush was to go, for example, or if someone offers for Savinho, then you'd replace them. But I don't think there's any obvious areas that really need doing. A right back maybe. But with Anderson, it's a player they like. But again, what are we, February now? I'm not sure how much they've accelerated on him or anybody else. Like traditionally, I'd always get better info around April time because by that point things were kind of moving down the line. But obviously that was when Cheeky was there, and Viana's going to do business differently. So not sure. They do like Anderson, but I don't know what stage that would be at. And again, would that be for Bernardo? Would that be for Rodri? I don't think you could really look at look at it in terms of replacing one player specifically, because you can't replace Bernardo. Like, he's got so many miles on the clock, and he knows exactly what Guardiola wants and how to do it. You're never going to get that from anybody else. Like, if you sign Elliot Anderson or Adam Morton, whoever, they're just not going to have that. They're going to be in the same boat as Reinders and Cherky and Eknori and everyone else who has to learn. But you just go and get a quality player, potentially homegrown, that can, be suited to getting the ball under pressure, being physical, winning it back, and those things that were maybe not so important in the City midfield even 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They are now. But yeah, they do like Elliot Anderson. So what happens.
Yeah. We only got you for 4 more minutes, so absolute rapid fire
we
questions
can do
now.
a little bit more. It's fine.
Okay, but just some rapid fire questions though. Musty asks, what is Sam's favourite exclusive he has broken?
There's only been about 3, so it's not too many. It's probably the Guardiola contract last year. The year before, when he signed it in November. That was hard. That was hard to get over the line. I think I annoyed some people by, like Fabrizio Romano, the story about him is he'll just like message people like every day.
Yeah.
I hate doing that. And also, I hate doing it and I don't do it. But then when I am badgering people, it's probably even more jarring, I guess. So I think I badgered too many people for that. But in the end, it was probably just about worth it, because it was good to get that, because it was a story everyone was kind of expecting. It was the second week of the international break. We all kind of thinking, well, if it's not this week, then when's it going to be? And then it happened to be me saying this is actually happening, so that was good.
Do we know if Haaland has a release clause in his contract? Is that unknown?
God,
can you not say?
I mean, no. I'm trying to think if it's something we may have even reported, but I've forgotten, because that's the kind of stage I'm at now. I mean, I'm only 37, but I'm feeling
washed unk. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly that. I don't think so. I also look, maybe there's some kind of, I'm signing up for 10 years in case anything mad happens, and this is the amount. Maybe they've negotiated that, but at the same time, you sign up for 10 years. You're not really thinking about going, are you? You're not really thinking about, this is my amazing loyalty to you. By the way, if somebody offers 150 million, I'm going to leave. Like, it's hard to know which way to judge that, because obviously, like with 115 stuff, it's easy to think, oh, the players must have clauses in their contract if they get relegated, etc., etc. I don't think that's the case. Yeah. So I'm going to guess on Haaland and say I don't think there is. There wasn't any noise about that at the time. I know these clauses generally get kept under wraps, but I'm going to suggest no, there isn't.
Spartacus asks, what is your hot take on food? So controversial food opinion.
Wow. So I've got to be specific about it.
Yeah. Like, pineapple on pizza, for example. We had someone who said,
yeah, I know, but it's desserts. That is mad.
There you go.
Like loaded fries, that kind of thing.
Not
it's
a fan.
Just a bit like, no, I don't know. I love chips with mayo. Maybe that's controversial. Like Ronald Koeman said, mayonnaise. No, was it chips without mayonnaise is no chips? I'm on board with that. But if you start covering it with too much stuff, I'm not sure. But no, I'd kind of anything. I don't know. The only slightly controversial thing I'd say is people who are fussy eaters should be sent to the moon. But that's about it. I know some people who won't eat sauce, won't have anything wet, and that fries my brain.
Yeah.
But each their own.
Sticking with food, I've got a nepotism question, because I told my mum that I was interviewing you, and she's got a question. Why do you know why Tast shut down? Because they do really good paella. So what's that all about?
Well, the thing is with these businesses that are owned by or invested in by rich people, like Cheeky and Pep and Soriano, whatever, they can obviously keep it afloat. But this is a really boring state of the high street answer. It's really expensive to run a business, and the good things that the government do in terms of you got to pay your staff a higher living wage, and that's the insurance contributions. The businesses have got to pay for that. The business rates go up, so they've got to pay more rent. Less people are going. To be fair, Tast, there's a lot of Spanish restaurants I prefer to go to rather than Tast, because it was experimental Spanish food for maybe people who eat Spanish food all the time and they want something different. When I want Spanish food, I want the not bog standard, but I want octopus, I want paella, I want patatas bravas maybe, but that kind of stuff. Whereas they put a twist on it, I think it's somewhere you'd go for the experience. You'd go to maybe see Pep, and then you wouldn't necessarily go again. So I guess I think that's the boring answer. But again, people are going, oh, well, his restaurant's closed. Maybe that's a sign Pep's going. I don't think so. I don't think
Yeah.
so. I think it's just that. I do have a good task story actually.
Oh, please, yes.
So we did go twice. The first time we went was, do you remember a few years ago? It was like the start of the 2018-19 season. And they did like a big Premier League kickoff event thing, and it must have been at GMEX in Manchester or something. So all the managers in on this big AstroTurf pitch to do interviews, and Pep was doing it. Me and my wife, we went for, it would have just been our anniversary. We went for dinner at Tast, and then we saw Arteta walk up the street, and I'd heard that he'd liked El Gato Negro, which is just up the road. So
Love
maybe
that.
he's going there.
Yep.
And then saw Pep on his phone over the road, because there's a jeweller's over the road from Tast, and we saw him on the phone. I think he might have clocked eyes and waved or something. But then we were like, oh, that's interesting. Wonder where they're going. And then we kind of saw what Dominic Torrent, Buenaventura coming into the restaurant. And, oh wow, they must be coming in here. I guess they're up on the third floor because there's a private bit. But then they basically all come in at the same time. Arteta's there, Pep's there. And then me and my wife sat down to having dinner. They all walk in as the staff, and then Pep comes over to us and says hello, which I just thought was amazing, because you would probably go there to be like, I want to see Guardiola. So these people must be thinking, who's that guy for Pep to go over to him, kind of thing. And he was just nice, saying, we were here for our anniversary. He goes, how long have you been together? 3 years. He goes, we've been whatever. So we just had a brief chat like that, and that was it. But that was a good task story. I was going to say, if I ever do a book, I won't do a book. Nobody cares. But that'll be in there, because I do like that one.
We care, Sam. We care. Make the book. We'll buy it. We'll make you a number one best-selling author or whatever.
Too much effort. Too little reward. That's not my game.
Do you have time to answer a question about possible right-back options that you're looking into?
I don't have any answers, but I've got time to answer. I've got time to hear it.
Boo.
What are you asking? So, who they could be targeting?
Yeah.
Honestly,
Do we have any insight into who they may be looking at, or what type of player they might be looking at?
It's quite funny, because coming back into work in January, before that Brighton game, I was speaking to a mate who works elsewhere, and he was talking about pre-season. I was like, I completely forgot about pre-season as a concept. Now, obviously, there's a World Cup going on, and I was like, I don't want to go to the World Cup. I'd rather go to pre-season. But I just forgot about it. When you asked me about Anderson today, it's like I've kind of been playing catch-up. I've been trying to get to grips with things over the last 4 or 5 weeks. I've missed out on those previous 6 months. I've not been thinking ahead to who are they going to sign, what's coming next, kind of thing. So you asking me for a right back target there is kind of, I know I mentioned it earlier, but I haven't had any conversations about it. It's not even been on my radar to think about yet. Maybe traditionally, because that information generally comes April, May time for me personally. But yeah, I've obviously just been playing catch up so much and getting back into the swing of things with games and stuff. I've not looked at that at all yet. So I don't know. Again, Livramento always makes loads of sense, but he just get a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
But Lewis Hall looks great, but they don't really need a left back, because we talked about Aït-Nouri there and being more assured on the ball. I still think Guardiola's best position is left back, because you get the most out of him, because he's so good on the ball. You might as well get him up the pitch. But I know not everyone agrees with that. In terms of a right back, I'm not sure. There's a long list of stuff I still need to get to.
Is Foden's contract situation on that list, or is that something you can shed
No, I
insight
think
on?
I'd heard that was okay. I'd heard that was quite close. But although that said, I'd heard it was so close, I'm surprised it's not been done already. But I don't think all was well. Around the Bodo game when he got taken off and he went straight down the tunnel. I don't know if that held anything up. But obviously the way Pep hugged him when Haaland scored the penalty, maybe it was the Turkey goal that was ruled out. But I think when Haaland scored the penalty at Anfield, Guardiola hugged Foden. So that relationship seems to be good at the moment. But no, because I haven't heard about Rodri recently. I had heard that Foden is headed in the right direction. I don't know if they're going to announce that today, tomorrow, next week, or next month. But that was at least heading in the right direction when I'd heard a couple of weeks ago.
Good. That's good to hear. That's in the pipeline. Excellent stuff. Guys, do we have any absolute final questions for Sam whilst we are here? Fenway asks, from a journalist's perspective, what has been the biggest difference from Cheeky to Viana? Does Viana handle the media differently?
Again, I've not been around for too much of it. Also, there is no direct line from us to the sporting director. There's a layer in between, which is the press office, basically. I get the feeling that there is a difference in terms of this isn't from anybody involved in that middle layer. This is from colleagues of mine actually who have tried to maybe deal around VR. I think there's a difference in reliability of the information. I think he might be somebody who likes people not knowing what's happening. Whereas I think before, Cheeky would be like, if you'd ask Cheeky a question, not us, but I think if people would ask Cheeky a question, it'd be like, yeah, that's where it is, or this is where we're at, or don't kill that idea. I think Viana kind of likes confusion a bit more. I don't think he likes people to know what he's up to, which I'm sure fans listening to this will probably be on board with. It's a pain in the ass for us, but yeah, I think Viana's happy if people don't know what's happening. Put it that way.
Yeah. Sam, it's been amazing having you on. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time. Strawberry Cheesecake does ask future collaboration again before pre-season, so I do hope that you enjoyed your time on the channel and you wouldn't be against coming on again in the future.
I thought Strawberry Cheesecake was going to be another food question.
It may well have been, to be fair. Well, maybe next time we'll have to ask you. We'll have to plan a totally different question about you.
Yeah, no, just ask me some specific stuff about, do you rate this or do you not rate that, and we'll go from there. But yeah, to be honest, I'm good with anything. Food, like whether it's food or coming on here to talk City again before pre-season. I mean, look, if I'm doing pre-season and you want to do it while I'm over there, it's my favourite time of year. So as long as the time differences work out and stuff, I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much again for coming on. Again, one final thing, opportunity, rather, for you to plug anything for people to check you out on.
Oh, let me just check if I actually got the web address right. I don't think I did.
Yes, I can pop it into the chats if you let me know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I've got LMT Pod. Has he updated?
It's on Spotify, yes?
Well, this right. So it's called, if you click on my podcast, you'll see Let Me Talk Pod in the bio, and then you can click through it from there. It's letmetalk.memberful.com/join, which is a crap URL to read out. It is on Spotify, but it's £2 a month basically, because we stopped doing it through The Athletic. The only way for David Mooney, the host, to carry on doing it, to be worthwhile for him, finance-wise, to replace the money he'd lost from The Athletic, was to charge. We charged the tiniest amount possible for a podcast is £0, isn't it? But we had to charge for it. We've done the tiniest amount. It's £2 a month. That's really good for a year. So that is my biggest plug.
Yes, there we
and
go.
it's good. Like you can imagine the chats we've had now.
I hope it's good.
These are the chats we have twice a week. So there we go.
Yeah. Excellent. Yes, I popped the. I found the Twitter link. I've popped it in the chat, so you guys can go check out the links from there, and of course check out Sam on Twitter and on The Athletic as well. Sam, once again, thank you so much for being generous with your time, matey, and I'll hopefully see you in the near future. Yeah, cheers everyone for watching, for the questions. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Sam. Bye bye. I'm going to stay on for an extra 30 minutes, by the way, guys. So yeah, if you can, there you go. Yes, he's done it. There we go. Right, guys, that was Sam Lee. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll be live for another, I'm going to say 20-25 minutes or so. We can maybe dissect what just happened there, that sort of thing. Big up to Sam for being very generous with his time. As I say, please go and check out his podcast, the Let Me Talk podcast. The Twitter link is there. And go check it out. Go support Sam. Go support David Mooney, and that'll be a lovely time had by all. Shad did a super chat saying, how City accelerate plan of signing Gahey, but we have signed Gahey, so I didn't really understand what that question was. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. For the last 10-15 minutes of that, I've had Evie sat on my lap. She's been biting my arm, biting the cables, trying to scratch me. I think she wants lunch. So that was not distracting at all. So big up to my cat for that. But hopefully you guys got some value from the show. I know I absolutely did. Definitely. It was really, really interesting to hear that from Sam. I did like his explanation about... because I've been trying to reconcile the 2020-25 activity basically, and because in my head I can't see the pattern between Reinders, Shirky, Aït-Nouri, and then Donnarumma. So I like Sam's theory of maybe the idea is bring them in, and then can you mould them into being that sort of player? Maybe that I could definitely. I'm excited for that, for the prospect of that. So hopefully that does happen. Absolutely. Would love to see it again. Thank you so much. Yeah. What would we like to discuss over the past 20 minutes or so? Maybe something that Sam and I discuss. If you guys want to expand it a little bit more. Hopefully I came to the chat enough, and that sort of thing. Show us quality. Thank you very much, Ash. Hello to you, true citizen. Shut up, Larry. I should have asked this because I don't think Sam is a City fan. I should have asked this. Oh, we'll have to ask him next time. He said he'd be willing to come on again, so he clearly didn't think it was a train wreck, so that's good. Yeah, big up Sam, absolutely. Yeah, W Sam. Big up to you, Strawberry Cheesecake. How did I make this happen? I texted him. Like, hey mate. Show's fallen off massively. That's crazy. I do have a cat. Yes, she's called Evie. She's very beautiful, but she was biting me a lot there. A big up, by the way, to Hung Lee for becoming a member of the channel. Sorry, I didn't feel it appropriate to say what your random footballer was when I had Sam Lee here, so I apologise for that. But your random footballer was Danny Murphy. Thank you so much, mate, for joining the channel. Big up, mate. I love that from you. Evie trying to show her domination. She is. She's being very naughty right now. She's very lovely. She's purring all the time, but stop biting the cable, Evie, please. I need those earphones to work. Thank you. Donnarumma chat was great. Yeah, I thought it was a really productive chat about Donnarumma. It's interesting to get his insights. Again, Sam, I did know that Sam has spoken to people who, within the club, who do believe that the reason why the second halves are worse is because of the build-up, is because of the Donnarumma situation. So it's just really fascinating to see the private conversations that are being had within the club versus the more public message that Pep is sending, which I can't. It does make sense. You're going to protect your player. It's like when Haaland was going through a bad patch and he was getting a good number of chances to score. The message clearly wasn't. Or rather, the problem clearly wasn't we weren't creating enough for Haaland. And when Pep was asked about that, Pep said we need to create more for him because he's protecting the player. So it makes absolute sense, I think. Yeah, you can acknowledge it, but yeah, so maybe he's going too far the other way. But yeah, that is. I can appreciate where he's coming from, and I guess that does understand the public versus private discourse that's happening there. Love. I'm glad that you liked it, Herbal. Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys seem to be enjoying the guest streams. I don't think we'll ever do like panel shows on this channel because that's not really what I want to do on my channel. Just because I just don't think I'd be very good at hosting them. But I do like the one-on-one interview style things. We're just like one person at a time. So we can definitely keep doing that. I think I told you guys I've got Harvey coming on for the Arsenal game in the league. He's going to be a great Arsenal fan to come on as well. Can we see Evie? Well, right now she's sat on my lap and very comfy. I don't want to move her. But when a super chat comes in, whenever it does, and you see like the little me come up holding a cat, that's Evie. Yeah, he did. Yeah, because he said before I need to leave at 2. I was like, oh, absolutely, don't worry. So that's why I was like quite time conscious. Sorry if it felt like I was rushing towards the end. It was just that Sam said I need to leave at 2. Is that okay? So I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't taking the piss, but he was very gracious with the time that he gave us. Absolutely. Oh yeah. So I think it was the 9320 podcast where I first learnt that from. But I can understand wanting him nearly 10 years ago, because as a teenager you can I'm sure Pep can coach any teenager into whatever he wants it to be. Basically, my confusion stemmed from there's a big gap between teenager versus 10-year seasoned veteran at international level as well. My question is, why City accelerate the signing? Oh, because Guardiola got injured, that's why. Yeah, because Guardiola was injured, absolutely. Bring on Pep next, crazy. Viana next week or we riot. I ask around. I know people. I don't know what's happened, but the past year, I think like last season when people would ask me what's going on with this, what's going on with that, what's going on with that, and I'd be like, I've got no insider information at the club. Like I'm not an in the know. I don't know anything. All of a sudden, it started from last summer. I've got things are happening, you know, in the world, in the no Nobbins world. I do know some things now. I've got, you know, I'm tapped into the Matrix. Yeah, I'm tapped in. Oh God, do you reckon you get an ex-City player on a show? Yo, Nader Manua knows who I am. Maybe we'll get Nader Manua on. Oh, I do love him. I think that he's so intelligent, and I love whenever he says anything about City. I just think, yeah. So that would be high key. I don't no idea how I would reach out to him, but Nadim, if you're watching, mate, come on. I know you know who I am, Nadim. You said big up to Nobbins, yeah? Or shout out Nobbins, yeah? Is what you said. So you know who I am. Come on, mate. I can't pay you, but I'll pay you in super chats. Oh my God. In the Nobbins is a thing. Yeah, exactly. Get Joe Hart on. Chill. I reckon Joe Hart would not mind. I'd love Joe Hart on. That'd be so funny. That'd be so cool. Invite Richard Dunn, yeah. What did you miss? Nothing, mate. Didn't miss anything. Don't worry about it. A big up to everyone, by the way, who submitted a... Oh, has he? He's been on Stephen's channel. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you didn't miss anything, mate. A big up to everyone who submitted questions. So I did use some of your questions. Like Tony submitted a question about the whole... what was going on last season versus now. It's interesting to hear that Sam felt the Club World Cup was a key factor there. Because I was not a big fan of that competition. I made that no mistake. I think that was just because I was burnt out and I wanted to go on holiday. And indeed, I did go on holiday. I just couldn't get excited for that competition because I was so tired. But it's really good to hear that Sam believes that was a really good springboard into a tight-knit group of players. So that's fascinating. Sorry about that, sub. Yeah, I couldn't get anyone. We did ask about Foden. Yeah, we asked about what's the situation with his contract. Sam said that as far as he's concerned, it's in the pipeline and it will happen. It's a matter of when, not if, which is great to hear, obviously. So hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. The Rodri one is a bit more up in the air. We don't necessarily know what's going on with that. But the Foden one does seem to be in the pipeline, so that's big, obviously. Oh God. Yeah, it was a little bit earlier. That was just because, again, like Sam had to leave it around 2, so obviously I'm going to do that. Some people think that Musty. Some people do think that he's gonna go. Like, and I keep telling these people that don't worry, he'll probably be here in 2036. Don't worry about it. Like, he's gonna be hit like as long at City as Lampard was at Chelsea or as Gerrard was at Liverpool. Don't worry about it. He's not going anywhere. Or Scholes at United. Don't worry about it. Yeah, he's either going to retire here absolutely, or he's going to. I mean, in fairness, that's what Gerrard did as well. He did go and have some fun in the US, didn't he? Outside of that, he's not going to go to another big club in Europe. I will bet my mortgage on that. I've been betting my mortgage a lot recently, and thankfully, it's landing on black every single time. If it lands on reds or green or whatever the number is, I'm going to be without a house. But so far, it's worked every single time I've said that. Yeah, he's retiring here. Mrs. Nobbins is not aware, and she is a joint tenant, so I should probably let her know what I'm gambling. Yeah, exactly, Slime. It's not a problem. It's not happening. Sam did suggest that it is worth it, Fenway. I think he said it's £2 a month. So if you can afford it, absolutely. Absolutely go for it. Get me on the panel, Larry, mate. I don't think he'll ever be a manager, though, Phil. I don't think he'll ever be a manager. I think that maybe he could be... I think maybe he'd be like a coach, like backroom staff. I don't think he'd ever be a manager, though. Maybe like a background coach, though, or something like that. I think that Foden's maybe more likely to have like a hospitality role. I don't think he'll ever go into media. I think it's more likely to be like a hospitality role at the club. That type of thing. Ambassador, I think that's the term I'm after. Yeah. That's the term I'm after, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I might be interesting, mightn't it? Speaking of this, I forgot to ask Sam what his club was, because some people said, in my head, he was like a United fan. But then someone said maybe it's Salford, so maybe that's where I'm getting confused. I don't think he's a City fan, though. I might be wrong there. I don't think he's a City fan. Yeah, that was kind of cool. That was nice. Will Foden get a statue? I think surely, hasn't he? He's going to... I thought he might be right, Tristan. I don't know. He's going to end his City career as a top 3 goal scorer. I'm very convinced of that. How many does Aguero have? It's 260, right? And he has the record. Foden's on 110. He's not gonna overtake Aguero. I don't think. I mean, it could happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But I think like number 3 is only 100 and something. Let me have a look, because Man City did an updated thing since Haaland scored. So yeah, Haaland overtook Colin Bell recently. Colin Bell, by the way, played in midfield. Sorry, he equaled Colin Bell, yeah. Colin Bell, a number 8, a box-to-box midfielder, 0 penalties. 0 penalties, and Colin Bell. And his prime years were taken away from him due to injury. 153 goals for Manchester City is obscene. Yeah, so Eric Brook, he got 177. Well, Foden's on 110 goals. He's going to get 70 goals from now until the end of his City career. That is going to happen. He's going to do that quite easily. Haaland's obviously going to become the number 1 goal scorer, and then it'll be Aguero on 260. But there's no doubt in my mind that Foden's going to get more than 177 goals for City. He's already on 110, and he's 26 in May. He's not even like entered his like pure physical prime yet, and he could well be here until he's like 33, 34, 35, 36. So yeah, it seems pretty obvious to me that will happen. Yeah, Big Earl at goalkeeper, absolutely. Oh, God, so funny. Oh, by the way, if you saw it on Twitter, I said that Nana Nobbins got hit in the knee. Someone found a camera angle, big up to MCFC Alex on Twitter, someone found a camera angle of it literally happening, and there's a screen, and I've got a screenshot of like, because like she's in the wheelchair, she's got a coat on. You can see the moment the ball hits her knee. It's so funny. This is a picture of like Haaland and looking at Nana Nobbins. Well, maybe he's not looking at her, but like the ball going into her knee. It's so funny. I'll have to show her that. That's great. My cousin's in it as well. That's so funny. I don't know how he found that camera angle, but big up to him. That's great. Just so people know I'm not bullshitting. We'll be live for another 10 minutes or so, guys. Sorry, he is what? He said he's a City fan. Oh, sorry, I didn't realise that. Prediction phone will retire with the highest G&A in City history. Yeah, probably. If he's on 110 now, and I think he'll be here for at least another, scoring goals consistently. Because he always gets like double digits, doesn't he? Basically, and obviously that will drop off as he gets older, and maybe as he's played deeper also, that does obviously happen. But he's, even in his first season in 18-19 where it like he wasn't really in the team, he still got 7 goals in all competitions. He got 3 in the FA Cup and 2 in the League Cup. And then he got 8 when he was integrated a bit more. And since 2020, he's got double-digit goals. So he's always going to get it seemingly, and he's on double-digit goals this season as well. So he's always going to get that. Just by virtue of playing all the matches and whatnot, or at least there or thereabouts. So yeah, he might well get over 200. He might well get over 200, and that's just goals. Never mind the assists that he gets as well. Like he's got double-digit assists in 3 seasons. One he got 9, 1 7 in the worst season in football history for any footballer. He got 6. So it's surely going to be a thing, 100%. Anything else to talk about? Yeah, hashtag justice. Yeah, thankfully it was her non-arthritic knee, because obviously she's got arthritis. So thankfully for her, it was not in that knee. But I tell you what, we could have sued. We could have sued. Yeah, with my solicitor hat on. Yeah, have you had an accident at Anfield that wasn't your fault? As a big Norwegian aggressively and ruthlessly kicked a ball against your poor knee? Yeah. Well, call on Nobbins. He'll defend you. Go on, take it quickly. Sue him for a shirt. Oh. I don't think holding a goalkeeper would help our build up. Shut up, Spartacus. It does. It does. Thoughts on Arsenal versus Brentford? Funny. Really funny. We were playing Football Manager last night and watching the game at the same time. Brentford deserved to win, based on what I saw. And granted, I only saw the final 30 minutes or so, but Brentford were easily the better team. They were the ones actually coming out more. Okay, Martinelli could have done better with that one chance, but that's the key, isn't it? I've seen lots of Arsenal fans complain about, if only we took this chance. And I get that, but at the same time, if you're only creating one big chance in like a whole half of football or whatever, if you're not creating enough, you're not always going to be able to take your chances, even if it's a good chance. And it wasn't like it was clear cut. It was good goalkeeping at the end of the day. Pedicle knob. Oh, God. LNobbins returned to court. Breaking emergency meeting. We haven't done an emergency meeting in a minute. We've only ever done 2 on this channel. They are emergencies, yeah? And that was when we were initially linked with, well, it looks like it was Rodrigo was happening and Donnarumma was first rumoured. Hey, if more emergencies happen, we'll do them. I did enjoy the emergency meetings, which is just so funny. But they have to be emergencies. You can't, like, milk it. You can't, every stream can't. If you're having an emergency meeting every week, they aren't emergencies, are they? That's just a meeting. So, I hope something, happens in the football world where it does warrant a Nobbins emergency meeting. Yeah, Brentford should have won. I agree, Austin. Yeah. Brentford play well. No, totally, Sachin. Totally agree, mate. How have you been performing? All right. We changed the system and we're on like a 6-game winning streak now. Kato was so good on throw-ins. Yeah, he's a name that I wouldn't be upset against getting because he's young enough to mould, I think. If my Dexter shirt, what kind of serial killer would you be? Who would I target? Yeah, well, I mean, definitely bad people. If I had to be a serial killer, I think I'd target bad people, but I'd probably target... I wouldn't do like a Dexter. I'd be more like an assassin, which I guess is what a serial killer sort of... Is an assassin someone who's hired? Or is that a mercenary? I don't know. But I'd sort of like assassinate high-ranking bad people in political positions. So, like Kim Jong-un, for example, and that sort of thing. That would be my... So I'd be like after high-ranking political figures who are like a bad cause for the world going nuclear. So that would be my victim of choice. Great question, Fenway. This is why you're here on the channel. Only competition we take is an interview of Hall, and yeah, good point actually. Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. It was. I mean, someone in my Twitch chat said it was like the Battle of Harambol. It was insane. He should have scored about 3 times, mate. It was ridiculous. Yeah, I'm getting my terms confused, Spartacus. That's still a serial killer, though, right? An assassin, yeah? It's still technically a serial killer, right? No, we should be glad YouTube isn't in North Korea. I'm only joking, Mr. Kim Jong-un. Someone messaged me, actually. Someone emailed me and said, "Hi, Nobbins. I'm a Man City fan in China. YouTube's banned in China, but we've got this other platform. Can I upload your videos but put Chinese subtitles on them?" It was very odd. It was very odd. Donnarumma was mad. Yeah, it was crazy. Regular meeting engaged. Oh god, yeah, right back, yeah, for Brentford. That's Billy. That's the one. I did allow it. Yeah, I said yeah. I said yeah. Why not? Just obviously credit me, but I think you can get it with VPNs and whatnot. Fireborn. I think you can get it with VPNs. So I said yeah, go for it. Obviously credit me, but yeah, that's fine. I have seen it large time where someone took my Kusanov analysis video and they just uploaded it and put it in Uzbek dubs, which I guess makes sense. It did quite. It got like 5,000 views as well, which I think is pretty good considering that I'm a baby YouTuber and it's a pirated video. That's pretty good going, I would suggest. You know, he's got motion. He's got motion. That's why that video got like 90k views. Is this real? Roger's been charged by the FA. Is this legit? Is this fake news? Yeah, so is James Bond technically a serial killer? I don't know what the terms are for it. Isn't it something like you got to kill a certain amount of people? I mean, he's done that. Touchline talk with Hall and thoughts on our first phase build when we play 4-4-2 diamond midfield shape, mate. Oh my god. Sometimes I find your video with French subtitles. In theory, they should all have subtitles because I set it to automatic dubbing and automatic subbing. So all the videos should have subtitles because YouTube should auto do it. I don't set captions, but YouTube should auto do it. They've gone after Rodders. That's crazy. They're trying to sabotage. Oh my god, did you guys see the obscene tweet by that one guy? I'm sure you have. I don't know what was going on there, but he was basically insinuating that all like reporting about Havertz being injured and all that stuff, that's to derail Arsenal's season. I'm sorry if I'm misquoting and I'm not I'm not getting that right, but that's mental. What's that all about? So by that logic, sorry, and by the same token, are we saying that when the Premier League dropped the big 115 in the middle of the... were they trying to derail our treble year? Is that what was going on? I'm so confused. Next collab with Big 11. Big 11. I don't know who that is, sorry. W scam. Well, is this... If I... Realistically, if I said no, there's nothing I can do. There's no harm in him doing it. Like I can't get any revenue from this Chinese site. I'm not gonna start uploading my videos to Billy or whatever it's called. So there's no skin off my nose, and even if he does do it without my permission, there's no harm. If anything, I'd be up for him doing it, and I'd like him to monetize it. I'd be like, right, like give me 50% of the proceeds. That'd be kind of sick. Can you imagine? Oh no, mate. Can't do them in scouts. I can't do accents, I'm afraid. Chicken. That's all I can say. And even that shit. Sorry, sorry if you're of the Liverpool persuasion. I can't do accents. I can sometimes do Brummy, but that's only sometimes. Yeah, can you imagine? Nothing disproves bias claims like pushing someone for calling you out PGM or a masterclass. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because people must be accessing YouTube. Otherwise, how would this person in China even know who I am? So there must be a VPN. So as you say, if he's linking back to it, then that's a thing. Channels a lot of money. Yeah. He's not. He never got back to me when I said, "Yeah, you can do it." So I don't know. I did take a month to reply, to be fair, because I just it got to the bottom of my inbox. I was like, "What's going on?" Bristol, burn him. He's playing with our pig. That's all right. It's a little Wurzel accent. Hello, my dear. Hello, my love. Okay, no, that's that. Ignore that last bit. The bits before were good though. Igor Tudor's new Spurs coach. What are Spurs doing, man? What are they doing? What's going on? Thoughts on Raya complained to the ref about being held. Mate, this guy's so funny. So funny. Yeah, well, he's got a Wurzel accent. Hagrid does have a Wurzel accent, so that's good. That is good. I can't do accents, guys. I can sometimes do Birmingham, though. Oh, God. Yeah, Hagrid. Yeah, Hagrid's a Wurzel in Harry Potter. Yeah, yeah. We need an Exeter accent. No, isn't that what we established? Didn't we establish that that Exeter is the West Country and therefore the Wurzels? And that's, you know, fuck Exeter. Thank God we absolutely trounced them, by the way, because the amount of shit that I was talking for no reason about Exeter. I don't know why I gave them so much smoke. I was just feeling frisky. Fuck Exeter, yeah? Fuck them. We battered them. American accent. Oh, there's different. I mean, every single nation has a different regional dialect. I always say New Jersey. Does that count? New York. Oh my God. I don't know why. I feel that's California surfer camp vibes. I can sort of be a camp Californian, perhaps. So Brittany was in the car and she said, "Your ass is fat." How's that? Rate that, guys. How about that? Valley Girl, is that what it's called? Yeah, yeah. There we go. Valley, see? So you guys know what I'm aiming for, so that must be a decent accent. -10! The hell? Oddly, oh, thank you. Thank you. -3! How have we gone from a Sam Lee interview to whatever this travesty is, guys? What is this all about? How Sam Lee put his name to this? Not bad, not bad. Yeah, so it's sort of like a camp or Valley Girl West Coast accent is what I'm after. That's what I was trying to do there. California girls were unforgettable. Daisy Duke bikinis on top. Fuck's off next. Chill. Posh. Oh, I can do sort of like a transatlantic, you know, like 1940s. And here's the game. Oh, and by go. What a fantastic goal that was. And everyone applauded. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. And here come the boys in blue. That's all right. That's transatlantic. That's like British Pathé from the 1960s. That's what I was aiming for with that. 10-0 driller tomorrow. Amazing. I don't know what a driller is, but sounds good. That one was decent. Thank you. Can I speak the Queen's English? You mean like RP? Like that? Question mark? That's so shit. I can't do it. Oh, I think that we are having Edgar over for dinner tonight. He's bringing the lobster, and we are going to be playing croquet. It went stereotypical French then. I don't know what that was all about. Sorry about that. That's probably offensive. Sound the same. Shut up. Yeah? Shut up. I'll punch you. God. Oh, dearie. Right. I think I need to go because I'm Why am I getting bullied? Why am I getting bullied? I think I said it on the Twitch. I need to. There's video footage of, because my dad is from Bolton. So up until the age of about, I'm going to say 5 or 6, I had a very, very thick Bolton accent. Incredibly thick, like Peter Kay style thick. So I had to get like the audio of me talking so you guys can hear it. You won't believe it. Obviously, the pitch is very different as well because I was a child, but it's just very interesting. This is, don't worry about it. It's fine. Okay, no, I didn't do that, mate. Chill. Sorry, I had to go through that. And my other dad is from, who like I lived with from the age of like, I don't know, 4 or 5. Originally he's from Stratford upon Avon, which is, even though it's in the Midlands, it can be an incredibly posh accent. So I think that there's probably been a bit of, and also my mum, who is from, born in Salford, in fact, she doesn't really have a traditional Manc accent either, and she's got what you'd call like a neutral northern accent. That's a term that I've used. So I don't know why that's the case, because everyone else in my family doesn't have that. They've got a very strong accent either way. I don't really know why my mum deviated from that, but she did. So I think that's probably why I have what I have right now, where it still is clearly northern, but it is posh. It is posh northern, and I was called posh in secondary school. Wasn't called posh at primary school, but as soon as you go to high school, like you got different people from different areas mixing with one another, and that was when I first got called posh. I was like, what? I don't know what's going on there. So yeah. Right, guys, I'm revealing background information as to, you know, my accent chains. I do feel like I do feel like it's probably time to hit the nail on the head there. Now, the nickname wasn't posh. Chill. The nickname in secondary school was Nobbins and other things. Lenin was more of a college one. Yeah. Am I feeling overexposed? No, I like to talk about bullshit. It's fun. Large slime, what the hell? Is posh a bad thing? No, not at all. It's sometimes used as an insult. I don't really get why. I mean, there are some people who are knobheads and are posh, but there are some knobheads who are not posh at the same time. So I don't think being one intrinsically means you are the other. I can't really help what my accent is. There's not really much I can do about that. Well, I suppose that you could get voice coaching and get rid of your accent, I suppose. But generally speaking, you can't really help what you sound like. So, yes. Yeah, if you guys haven't come to the Twitch streams, this is normally what we do. We normally like talk about bullshit and have a fun time. So if you're not come to the Twitch streams before and you're enjoying what you're listening to right now, this is just a sneak preview of what we rattle on about RE Twitch. Yeah, but there's a game in the background, exactly, so it's even more engaging. So come to the Twitch next time if you're enjoying this fun chat, which I am enjoying, with, in fairness. Leicester Nobbins. Is Leicester even a name? Hello? Not he was the lover of the Russian queen, though. Yeah. He was the lover of the Russian queen. I've never been to... What the hell, True Citizen? I've never been to Russia, I'll be honest. Yeah, he's apparently been charged after the Spurs game, John. Something like that, which is interesting. Like, okay. Yeah, apparently so. Apparently so. Big up to all of my beautiful supporters on the Patreon and the YouTube membership, by the way. Shout out to Shad, Mr. Perfecto for super chatting, and shout out to Hung for joining the membership. Thank you so much for that. I have, if you are a member, you'll have seen the member post recently. I'm going to do 4 videos this month because I did not do one in January because it was so hectic. I think what I'm going to do is I want to do a game room tour. I think that'll be fun. I want to do an extended Ask Nobbins. I want to do an Elliot Anderson data report analysis. And there was a video that I saw. I've not seen the video yet, but it came up in my recommended. It was a Sky video, and it was like ranking all the Man City signings. I thought that would be quite nice to react to because we have done that before. And that seems like quite a fun video to do, to see how much they get wrong. Yeah, see how much they get wrong. We can react to that. There we go. Yeah, but maybe he was a grower, not a shower. Respect the Russia of the lover of the Russian queen. Sorry, respect him. Yeah. Oh dear. Yes, there will be a watch along tomorrow, and hopefully there will be a post-match analysis later today. I haven't rewatched the game yet. Hopefully I'll have time to do that. Thank you so much for joining. Big up to Sam again. Go check him out on Let Me Talk. Go check out his profile. I hope you guys got a lot of value from today's show. I know I absolutely did. It's very interesting to hear that Sam shares my same concerns, but it's also good that we are both willing to be open-minded and wait and see. I do need to be proven. I do need to see it on the pitch, but it's good to know that we are in the same minds. We are of the same mindset there, and I'm not just going insane. Thank you so much for watching. Big up once again. Stay tuned for the post-match analysis of the Fulham game, and we'll be live tomorrow for the Salford watch-along. Goodbye, guys.